G'day, I'm SyntaxError, and this is a movie review. I don't know why we're doing movie reviews on the gaming channel, but it's my channel and I can do whatever the heck I want with it. So, a movie review it is. Fortunately, this movie happens to be based on a game, so I can vaguely tie that in as a link. So I went to see Warcraft, which is obviously based off the massively popular game World of Warcraft. I was fortunate to win some tickets to the premiere of Warcraft in Brisbane. That was thanks to a competition run by Acer, so thanks Acer. And I had a really good time. There was I've never been to a premiere before, and it was really fun. Got to meet some interesting people, got to take some friends along, got some food, got some that. There was actually a funny moment that happened during it. We were all seated, we've done like the pre-stuff, you know, all of that, and the movie just started. And the first thing that flings up onto the screen is, okay guys, don't forget to put on your 3D glasses. I don't have any 3D glasses. None of us did. And we first thought, oh, this might be like a default message, and then that's all in 3D, and then it's like, okay. And then like the Universal Studios logo starts coming up and it's all like blurry and stuff. I'm like, oh, it's in 3D, we don't have any 3D glasses, and everyone's like yelling out, stop, don't give us any spoilers, stop. It was quite hilarious. So I tried to bring you guys along by vlogging and that kind of thing with my mobile phone, and just being like, yeah, here's the atmosphere, here's the posters, here's the, yeah. You see, there's my foot, and there's a light. Yeah, so apparently I'm really terrible at vlogging with my phone. It's really bad. This is what I recorded like 2 minutes after I exited the movie. Alright, these were my leaving thoughts. These were what I left with, the feelings as raw as possible. And I'll try and scrub the audio to the best of my ability, but I don't know how well that will turn out. That's something we'll just have to try. So, we've just come back from the premiere screening, and I have to say my initial thoughts are it is really good. It surprised me. Like, it was a little slow at the start with like some of the dialogue and the script. It just felt a little jittery. I'll get into that more later, but my initial impressions, like at the end, I'm like going, oh wow, that was actually really cool. I enjoyed that. I walked out smiling and enjoying it, and actually kind of expecting a sequel. So, I don't know what you guys think, maybe. So basically, this entire movie, Warcraft, is based around the game World of Warcraft. No big leaps of surprise there. It's a massively popular game, and for good reason. It's very entertaining. There is one small problem with this review. I don't really play World of Warcraft. Okay, I played about 10 minutes of it a decade ago. One of the first things that jumps out at you is the CGI. Like, there are lots of things about this movie, and I know there's a lot of things that you're worried about. They're coming soon. The CGI is like the most in-your-face element of it, and I wanted to get that out of the way first. Basically, it's really good. It's really quite amazingly good. The CGI was really well done, and I think it comes down to the fact that you have so much detail. At first it looks a bit like CGI-ish, but the entire realm takes on a fantasy element. It's not unusual. The orcs don't look out of place. That's part like due to the scenery. There was a lot of CGI'd scenery that was just like, let's show off the amazingness that we can make these beautiful landscapes, and I think that's a good reflection over to World of Warcraft. You had these different expansive sceneries that you kind of drew upon, and amazing architecture and all of that. They brought all of that in, amped it up, and put in those details. And those details were important because they really brought it all in together. Like, you see those horrible ring tusks that just make me feel like I've got a cavity in my mouth. It's like so painful to look at. But I'll tell you what, it is a delight to look at because it actually has its own little physics. As he's talking, it will bounce up and down and all of that like normal. It's just like, I mean, I know that's what you should have, but that's like great care to detail to actually include those things and not just kind of cheapskate out on it sometimes. Another element that I really love the detail is in the magic. The magic just looks so cool in this, particularly like the teleporting aspects and all of that. When they're kind of charging up the magic, you can see little things floating around the magic. For example, I noticed a few different galaxies, and it was like really nicely tied in together. It's like the details are what really make this CGI come to life. It's really, really amazing in that respect. There is one CGI element, especially in 3D like I viewed it in the cinemas, that just does not work. It is painful, it is horrible, it is jarring, and like everyone in the cinema was groaning and like, oh, what is this? It's blinding me and destroying my mind at the same time. It was the Blizzard logo. Blizzard comes up and does this kind of 3D ice sculpture, but as you can imagine, it's like whenever you've got something intricate in 3D, it destroys your mind. But then because it's an ice sculpture, it was slightly transparent, and my visual cortex has been completely burnt away by that thing. We had the bad Blizzard logo. That doesn't mean that there was nothing bad in the movie. I mean, we all expected something to be terrible in the movie, that it's just going to be another one of those, games and movies just don't seem to mesh well. And this is something that I really picked up from the start of the movie, was the script for me. And this is, I say, for me, because my friend kind of disagreed. He said it's a reflection of the gameplay. And that's very true. This is exactly what I would expect to see in the gameplay. The kind of dialogues and conversations and that kind of thing. But gameplay and video media are two different things, and sometimes they just don't mesh. Sometimes they just don't work. The very start of the movie was me looking at scene. There was no continual flow. It just felt like I could pretty much, each scene I was just thinking, oh, so they made that scene so they could introduce this character's backstory. Oh, so they made that scene to just move the plot on from this point. It was all very like clear cut, and it was kind of jarring in a way. I couldn't immerse myself because it felt like a whole lot of little mini episodes joined together. It wasn't cohesive. Probably through to about halfway through, that was like really jarring, and then after that it started to pick up. Now, the other thing I should point out is, even when it picked up, and even like through this, the entire way through this movie, it felt a little bit like playing a game of D&D, or Dungeons and Dragons. So with this entire thing, I felt like we were kind of slightly third person in a way. That the entire setup felt like an orchestrated attempt, like how you play Dungeons and Dragons. It felt like the Dungeon Master was saying the words, that the Dungeon Master was going, and then you notice this, and then it just felt very sequential, like a Dungeons and Dragons game, that it wasn't quite real. It was, everyone was playing their roles effectively, but not really part of it. I didn't feel that the actual playthrough led me to believe these characters were real. They weren't really in the situation. It kind of had that fantasy element. And I suppose that draws upon everything. But this is a fantasy element. It is a role-playing game, so it kind of brings that across. Now, I just say that as a warning, really, for when you go in to expect a movie, you kind of want to feel like this is what's happening. You're being told a story, whereas this is more a group of mates are telling a story together. Which is good, because it actually can inject a bit of humour into it, because like there are lots of humorous moments, but they're not overplayed silly things. They're not like silly one-line puns like James Bond or that kind of thing. That they're actually, because it's a group of friends talking about this story, they're kind of like jesting with each other, funny little situations and all of that. Nothing to defer from the game. It was just like part of it. And that's, I suppose, that's the thing, that it feels very game-like, very fantasy-like, that I didn't quite connect with it on that movie level, like a lot of other action movies of this genre you might think. So there's one thing about this movie that I really, really loved, and that would be the action scenes. And it's not actually because of the whole CGI amazing actions. I mean, they're there and they're great, and I don't think they're quite overdone like you'll see in The Matrix or that kind of thing. It's a little reminiscent of Lord of the Rings kind of stuff. But what's really interesting is there was tactical things. There was lots of stuff happening. The battle was evolving constantly. And so I really enjoyed that element of it. It was really nice to see an actual battle for once. I can't help but feel like World of Warcraft, Blizzard, that's their forte. And I can't help but feel that they possibly were the ones that constructed this. And if it was them, kudos to them. If it wasn't them, kudos to you, because it was great. What I also really loved was it wasn't just a battle. The story continues. There are things happening in there that are part of the story. It's not just this person will fight that person, here's the battle, good entertainment, winner, loser. There is a story happening and it progresses, and it will happen across multiple characters. The battles are extremely well scripted. The entire plot, the people, the character developments, everything is really well done. I mean, it's not your flashy, like your Captain America airport scene battle. It's the complete opposite of that. This is a real tactical battle, and things are evolving and changing, and I really enjoyed that for a change. So for me, one of my greatest frustrations is watching a movie and being able to predict what will happen 10 minutes before it happens all the time. The whole thing is, this is a prequel. You know what the end result is going to be. But they still manage to do it in such a way that you kind of can actually respect a story out of it. You can, not get totally blown away by surprise, but things click in place. There's not revelations, oh my gosh, but there are times where kind of oh, I see, now that's how that's working, that's how that dynamic is going to fit together. My favourite thing about this movie is the casting. There is not one person that I can think of that I went, all of them were... I didn't really know any of the people in this movie. I know of a few of them, and there's actually a couple that I didn't even realise were in this movie, and I'm like, oh, I remember you from that TV series. So what I really enjoyed was that all of them really kind of came together and produced these complicated characters. It's just a lovely progression to see that this is actually really deep characters that have a deep evolution that develops with the story. It's really well done. This was something that I figured, I don't know why, whenever you think of some action movies or those kinds of things, you immediately think it's going to be a little bit poor on some of the scripting and the action development and that kind of side. This is not so. This is really nicely written characters. Of course, this is probably coming from all the prologue that Blizzard has developed for them anyhow, but still, to then come up with more details and integrate that in nicely, that was really good. Another little thing, and this is what I like about this movie, it's the little things that bring it together. Another little thing that I really enjoyed were the languages. So of course you've got Orc and you've got humans and you've got people who are able to speak both. And what I was expecting was to read a whole lot of subtitles and just be kind of looking at weird names and getting confused and, oh shoot, I missed that, or especially in 3D, you could easily get confused with titles and text and all of that kind of thing on the screen. What was interesting is they didn't really use that. So what will happen is you'll usually have a translator. So you'll hear some foreign language of some form being spoken, and then someone will translate it into English, for example, for us in Australia. But then what was interesting is you'll change perspectives. So for example, if the orc was talking to, if an orc was talking to humans and there's a translator there, he'll be speaking orc and da-da-da-da-da, and then the translator will be repeating what he said in English and all of that. But then if you wanted to if you switch over to the orc side, basically, and you won't really tell other than just a slight shift in who the focus is on and who the personality is shining through, you'll be on the orc side and he will be speaking English. And the translator and the people, the humans, will be speaking this kind of gibberish language as well. I feel like all the World of Warcraft fans out there are probably going to slap me silly and say, it is not a gibberish language, it is a... and then tell me, because I don't know. I have no idea. But I like the fact that I didn't have to read subtitles every 2 minutes. So that was pretty good. Overall, recapping it, there are a lot of good themes in this. There is one particular theme, which I don't know if people will get annoyed if I spoil, so I won't spoil it, even though it's like obvious, whatever. There's a particular theme that ties this and story together, and it's got a nice message, and it's not a hidden theme. It is literally a quote written down, and it's expressed on multiple different levels throughout the entire story. And it kind of shows a nice evolution, a nice peaceful aspect of it, which is kind of weird when it's World of Warcraft. But whatever. We're getting along with the nice and friendlies and stuff. There is one theme, however, that you do need to pay attention to, and that I will spoil for you. I don't care, because you need to know about this. One of the themes is death. Now, it's expressed in multiple forms, and I won't get into details with that, because I know people are probably already annoyed about the spoilers of death. Yeah, I know, it's not really a spoiler. You knew people were going to die. But I think that's an important distinction. You knew people were going to die, but you probably didn't realise that a theme, an actual aspect of this, is going to revolve around death. Now, I say this with such emphasis because I was expecting this to be a bit like Lord of the Rings. They go into battle with armies, slash their swords, little blood flicks there and decapitations there, and that's an army fight. It's battle, that's what happens. You get into that mindset. And there was that. It was great. Enjoyed it. Battle scenes. Go look, have fun. But that's not where I'm saying the theme of death is coming from. For those of you that are more familiar with the lore, you'll probably work out, oh yeah, because there's particular character that is involved with death, and there's a lot of element about death and blah blah blah. Yes, and that is the theme in a sense, but what you need to take on to is actually consider this death is a part of the movie. There is a lot of death, and I'm not talking about in, wars or that kind of thing. It starts from the very start to the very end. If you're in any way queasy about that, you should really take consideration into this film. I am not very queasy about that kind of thing. I'm quite happy to watch Lord of the Rings and all of that. When the movie first started, I actually got a little bit antsy. I actually got a little bit, okay, this is hitting a lot deeper than I thought. And I wasn't very comfortable with it. If you're concerned about that, take caution. If you're not, then that's fine. I don't think kids should go to this. Sorry, kids. It is quite heavy. It is heavier than Lord of the Rings. I'll give you that. There is lots of stabbing and violent and gore and all of that kind of thing in Lord of the Rings. And there's humor in it, just like there is humor in this movie. But there is an underlying theme that could disturb some kids. Okay? If you love the game, go see it. I mean, I feel like there was a good nod towards a lot of the Warcraft gamers. Being a professional Warcraft gamer myself. In actuality, I do play Hearthstone. I know some of it. I don't know what things are in Hearthstone because it's Heroes of Warcraft, so there's probably a lot of things that are in Hearthstone that are in Warcraft. But there were a lot of things in there that I recognised, and I was surprised. I can only say from Hearthstone, really, guys, sorry. But there is a creature card, a creature that is commonly used in Hearthstone, and it not only appears in there, it uses the same freaking sound as when it's played. And it was like a real jump moment for me, because I was... maybe it was that insightful rage inside me. Whenever I hear that annoying sound, I'm like, ah. But anyhow, there's that, and there was another spell card that's used, that's another funny one, and this was just after a funny scene. Funny scene, yeah, let's call it a funny scene. So there are a lot of nods towards it, and it was very interesting for me, who never really understood the heroes of Hearthstone, just kind of knew them as cards, to see them develop, to see their characters come about. That was very interesting to me. I don't know much about Warcraft. I got through this movie easy. It was no problem with me. I was worried about it. I tried to read up a little bit of lore, but I couldn't really understand most of it because I felt like I had gaps missing everywhere. If you don't know much about Warcraft, don't worry about it. It's cool. They expect that. They've explained it in a nice way. There are like weird names, but it's not really worrisome. You're not there kind of trying to decipher who's talking about who. It's pretty obvious. They do it really nicely that way. I should address, I noticed there was a few reviews talking about how there weren't any other species other than humans and orcs, and they weren't sure about dwarves. They saw something out there. The main focus is between the human and orcs, but there are other species in there. It's just not a main focus. So you get to see that element at least. You get to see what the elves look like. You get to see that kind of thing. No, sadly, you don't get to see them in big epic fights. So I gave you a lot of good points and I gave you a lot of bad points. And I felt that they kind of meshed together interestingly. I think what's important is all the bad points pretty much cancelled each other out by the end of the movie. I was into it by the end of the movie. I don't think this movie will change your life. I think it's a really good movie, but it's not amazing and brilliant and all of that kind of thing. But I don't think it's average either. I think like if I had this on TV, I would keep the channel on because I enjoyed it. So along that aspect, I'm kind of wanting to give it like 3.5 stars to 4 stars out of 5. Because of the effort that's gone into it, and because I can feel the amazing character development and all of that, I'm going to actually just up it to 4 stars. I mean, there are a lot of things that I find really good movies and all of that kind of thing that I'll give like 4 or 5 stars, and I don't feel it quite fits that category. But at the same token, I really appreciate what they've done with it. The scenery, the whole story, everything just came together in a really nice form. And for that, I do want to push them up a little bit because I think that it deserves it. They've done well to get that. There's so many obstacles in their path and they've gotten around all of them. Just like in World of Warcraft, they've used that ability to really make a nice film. And so I would recommend people that are interested in going to see it because it is a good film. I just throw that caution out there about death, mostly so that you're forewarned and prepared, because sometimes it can just take you like a freaking cold fish slap to the face. So when you're prepared about it, it's kind of alright. By the end scenes, that death element is still there, but we're cool. We're cool with it. So I know I've been rambling on about this for a while, guys. Sorry, it is 1:30 in the morning. I'm so tired. But I wanted to get this up to you guys as soon as possible because I'd want to know about this. I was interested in this and I had this amazing opportunity presented to me by Acer. Thanks again, guys. And I just wanted to get you guys informed as soon as possible about what I think of it. And, you know, what do you guys think of it? Are you going to go see it? I hope so. I hope I haven't scared too many people off of that death thing. It's just be forewarned, and that's all. That's all you have to really know. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. You know, I need to know these things, guys. The feedback tells me if I have been rambling on and lost everyone at 30 seconds or not. So if you're here, you got to give me that thumbs up so I know that I managed to grab hold of you. Comment below if you think I should do a spoilers review. I don't know. I won't do that until after it's been released, okay? But still, interested to know what you guys think. If we should like share some ideas and thoughts and reviews on that kind of thing. Don't forget to click that subscribe button if you would like to see more of these videos. If I get invited to more premieres. If not, there's lots of really cool gaming stuff. Go check it out. Whilst you're there, click subscribe because it's awesome. And when you've clicked subscribe, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.